The Dallas Cowboys, easily the best team in the NFC East last year. I'm sure no one on this podcast predicted that they would be bad. That would be embarrassing. Wilson, if they want to improve upon things, and we're not going to say fire Mike McCarthy, even though that would probably be the best thing to do. What would you have the Cowboys doing this offseason to improve their roster?
I just had to mark out fire Mike McCarthy. So what else is on the to-do list? Here's the thing. Look, they have Amari Cooper. They have CeeDee Lamb. You would think, they don't need a wide receiver. But Cedric Wilson's contract is up. Michael Gallup's contract is up, and he tore his ACL as well. So they don't have a lot of depth of wide receiver. Go out and get a complimentary wide receiver for those two guys that I mentioned, and for obviously Dak Prescott. Think about Juju Smith-Schuster. Think about how good he was when he had other wide receivers around him. When Antonio Brown was on that Steelers team, Juju put up huge numbers to the point that Antonio Brown wasn't crazy about how well he was performing in that offense. And I think you come in there to Dallas, you're not the man. You can let Amari Cooper, you can let CeeDee Lamb do the heavy lifting, and you're in the slot just reaping the benefits. That's a 1,000-yard season slam dunk. If you don't want to go that route, if perhaps Juju Smith-Schuster decides to stay in Pittsburgh or go elsewhere, you can use the draft to get a wide receiver. Chris Olave, I just mentioned Garrett Wilson. His teammate at Ohio State is a fantastic complimentary player. I think he would come in right away and be a guy who can contribute. He's one of the best route runners in this draft class. David Bell as well out of Purdue is a big target who can make plays down the field and give Dak Prescott yet another weapon. It sounds silly, like I said, to think about wide receiver as a potential need here, but you only have two guys with a lot of experience, and the rest of the guys are just have only had a handful of snaps. So Juju Smith-Schuster can be an option free agency. Look to the draft for other options and get Dak Prescott at least one more weapon to go along with Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb.
The Philadelphia Eagles, John Breach, what do you think they should do this offseason?
I hear talking to Eagles fans looking around, and it sounds like nobody knows what to do at quarterback. It seems like they're pretty split on do we keep Jalen Hurts? Do we get rid of Jalen Hurts? Should we try to trade for Russell Wilson? So I'm going to stay out of the argument. Look, you just got to the playoffs with Jalen Hurts. I'm giving him at least one more year. I think where the Eagles really need help is on defense, specifically rushing the passer. They struggled to do that last season. Or at safety. They're going to need a couple starting safeties. Probably going to have to sign them in free agency. But I probably you have a bunch of first-round picks, get one in the draft. But I think I am going to say the Eagles should go after Hassan Reddick. He has been a force for the past couple seasons. It seems like he gets kind of lost in the shuffle, kind of one of those under-the-radar guys who has had a couple huge seasons. So if I am the Eagles, I am doing anything I can to add some pass rushing help. And as we see right here over the past two seasons, Reddick has the 5th most sacks in the NFL out of any player. And I think he is absolutely one of those guys that gets kind of lost in the shuffle, obviously with TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Aaron Donald, Trey Hendrickson, those guys there. So I think he would be a great add for the Eagles.
Dig that. A very specific move by John Breach. Just one very specific move. Wilson, what do you think the Giants need to do this offseason?
Well, look, if the Eagles are adding pass rushers or off-ball linebackers to get up the quarterback, the Giants need to protect Daniel Jones. And it certainly seems like, according to the new GM and head coach, that Daniel Jones is the future for now. And if so, please protect him, because he hasn't had that at any point during his career in New York, and he's just taken an absolute beating. So they have 2 first-round picks, pick 5 and pick 7. And if you told me that the Giants were going to take offensive linemen at both picks 5 and 7, I would say congratulations, assuming they got the picks right. There could be a Charles Cross there out of Mississippi State, Evan Neal, even Nicky Ekwonu at 5. And then you could double down and you could get a guard like Kenyon Green if you want, maybe a little rich for some people's blood to draft him that high. Rich for some people's taste to draft him that high out of Texas A&M, but he's a good football player that can play all 5 positions. You could even take Tyler Linderbaum, the center out of Iowa, who is certainly worth the top 10 selection. And again, at the end of the day, you are fixing your offensive line for Daniel Jones, also for Saquon Barkley, who didn't look quite like himself last year coming back from ACL. I expect he'll be better in 2022. And then you sort of mentioned it, Brinson coming in, that the Cowboys are the favorites in this division. But if you fix an offensive line, new coaching staff, Brian Daboll did wonders with Josh Allen. What can he do with Danny Dimes? You would expect that there to be some competition. And if the offensive line allows Daniel Jones to throw the football, you have to like their chances a little more than certainly you did a year ago.
Absolutely. And I would like Washington's chances. By the way, somebody I was on a podcast this morning, somebody else's podcast, and he pointed out that he saw it on Twitter, but he said that if Brandon Scherf got tagged by Washington this coming year, he would be on 3 different team names. Like he would have been on the R's, the WFTs, and the Commanders, all tagged by all 3, which would be just wild on 1-year deals. Anyway, they probably aren't going to do that. And besides, that's not the most important and pressing issue for this team. They need to figure out the quarterback situation. Ryan Fitzpatrick was signed to be the bridge guy last year. He got hurt quickly. Taylor Heineke stepped in. We don't think he's the long-term answer. And they don't have to draft somebody, but they definitely need to figure something out, and they need to address the position in a meaningful way to try and get themselves in the mix in this division to try and play catch up with the Dallas Cowboys. Maybe you go out and draft Matt Corral, like Ryan Wilson pointed out in his latest mock draft. I'd love that because I bet Matt Corral 10-1 to be the first quarterback drafted. I think that's a pretty good bet. And complement it with Malik Willis to be the first quarterback drafted at plus 150. It'll probably be minus money once we get through the combine. But the Washington Commanders, which is just a team name I'm not enjoying saying, need to figure out the quarterback situation.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.